main screen, not the video anymore.
Really?
Yes, it says we're live, so I think you're live.
It says I'm screen sharing. You sure you can't see it?
I'm sure. I sent you a text.
All right, Jim answered. He can see.
Awesome.
And Jim, you can even tell MJ I comb my hair for this.
Hey Dave, just be aware I might not be able to see the slides when we get to that if I can't see the motion video.
Yeah, there's that.
And
also, you want to log out and come back in real quick?
Yeah, sure. And I got a text that said no sound.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to log out.
Yeah, we're broadcasting, so it's on. It's definitely on. People are having a hard time hearing it. Can whoever said we didn't have any sound? Can you put a message in there? And thank you, Tammy. Hey, Tammy, thanks for joining us. Hey, Shireen, we've checked on a couple of different systems, and we definitely are broadcasting sound. Awesome. Yeah, Jim, when we were editing the video, it got stuck in my head and I ended up whistling it for 3 days. So, all good with that. Mike, you want to give a quick housekeeping?
Yeah, welcome everybody. It looks like it's 1:01 p.m. Eastern time, so we're going to give a few more people a couple minutes to get into the room, and then we'll get started. We are mindful, and we're going to try to keep this under an hour for you and make sure it's value-packed.
We got a lot of information to cover. So with that, I'm going to play the video 1 or 2 more times, and then we'll get started. Austin, nice. Nashville. Good question, Jim. Very good question. So with that, so I'm going to knock the video down here real quick, and we're in good shape over here. So we still got a minute or so before we want to kick off. Just real quick, while we're in the final stretch here of waiting on people to log in, I want to ask, and not just where you're from, but what you use LinkedIn for, or any challenges you have on LinkedIn. I want to make sure if we can get those out in the open, maybe we can help with those today, or maybe we can help with those one-on-one. So we'll figure it out from there. And with that, Mike, we are at 4, so let's kick it.
Very good, very good. And just so everybody knows, we think LinkedIn events are a great way to bring value. And of course, we're all learning like you are. And I cannot see the slides, so I have them pulled up on my cell phone. So we're just going to go along. Welcome, everybody. I'm Michael Globitz of Prospect Ladder. And with me today is Dave Grimm. We're going to spend the next hour giving you some tips and tricks that we've learned the hard way with LinkedIn outreach marketing for both sales, recruiters, and marketers and networkers. We're both very humbled and excited to give you this value-packed hour. First question that I know we always usually see in one of these things is, will it be recorded? And yes, we are going to record this, and we will send this webinar out. Please use the question and answers tab. If you have any questions, we'll make sure we get to all those during the presentation, either Dave or myself, depending on who's speaking. If not, if we accidentally miss a question, then go ahead and hit either one of us up on LinkedIn Messenger, or you can hit us up on email, and we'll give you all the email addresses and everything at the end. This webinar today, like I mentioned, is going to be 1 hour. We're going to cover 5 topics that we most definitely learned the hard way on LinkedIn outreach for sales, marketing, recruiting. And we'll have 5 follow-up webinars where we're going to go into a more detailed deep dive into each one of those topics. But today you will get a lot of value for that. And again, my name is Michael Globitz, and I will just go ahead to the next slide and show you guys who we are and what kind of makes us unique, I think. And again, if we're on slide 2, I don't know that, but I can see now. So Dave, you just might have to narrate a little bit for me on that. But are we on? No problem.
You are on slide 2. You're good
awesome.
To go.
A little delay on my phone because I'm watching the slides on my phone. But again, this is what we have to do with LinkedIn outreach. Sometimes we have to adapt and overcome. So again, I'm Michael Globitz. You might not realize this, or you might think this is not relevant, but I have 23 years as an active duty firefighter. It's a public servant position, and it's a servant style leadership position. And most firefighters have side hustles. My side hustles turned into full-time jobs, though, which are very relevant to what we're doing today. In 2017, I started a private staffing company where I had to learn LinkedIn outreach for both recruitment and for business-to-business sales. I learned that LinkedIn was a very valuable place for me to find my prospects on the platform. I partnered up with some worldwide leaders in LinkedIn outreach over the years, and that's the people that introduced me the softwares and strategies and tactics for LinkedIn. And that's where Prospect Ladder was founded in 2020, right around the time of the start of the pandemic. So Prospect Ladder is a LinkedIn outreach organization. We help with software, services, tips and tricks like we're talking about today, and solutions for LinkedIn. And the mentality that we have today of the go-giver approach, where we can touch a lot of people. I started a blog back in 2021, which is a sales, marketing, and recruitment blog called findmyprospects.com. It's another place where we can give value to everybody, help share what we've learned from the experts around the world, and try to make everybody grow with LinkedIn outreach for marketing, sales, and recruitment. So enough about me and my unique approach to LinkedIn outreach. I do want to introduce you now to Dave Grimm, who was one of those LinkedIn experts I talked about. Dave?
But Mike, I came to LinkedIn primarily in 2015. I was recruited to raise capital for real estate syndication. And in 2016, I was promoted to systems infrastructure, head of marketing, head of compliance, and a couple other hats. And in the process, I developed a system using real humans. This was before automation was even on the table or popular. And we developed a system for lead generation for accredited investors. Fast forward to 2019, and I hung out my shingle for end-to-end results as a marketing, SEO, and lead generation firm, specializing in using LinkedIn for outreach. And since then, not only have I used it to generate accredited investors for the investment firm, but I've also worked closely with coaches, consultants, financial planners, legal services, all specifically focusing on relationship business for the purposes of generating recurring revenue in your company. So that's my escalation on LinkedIn and where I've come through. So with that, I'm going to Mike. I'm going to move on to the next slide, and we can talk about what LinkedIn is good for.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much. So again, the webinar is good for, and LinkedIn's good for networkers, sellers, recruiters, sourcers, marketers, investors, coaches, and many others. LinkedIn is good for connecting with people in cold traffic, driving cold traffic to yourself, and also building your authority on the platform. You can also get LinkedIn for inbound work requests. This is another way that you can bring inbound leads to you through LinkedIn. We're going to talk about outbound and inbound marketing today. We're going to talk about profile optimization, targeting and hyper-targeting your leads, along with LinkedIn events, which is another great way that you can bring people into your LinkedIn network, like this event today. I think we had, close to 500, 600 RSVPs for this event today. So that's where we'll talk a little bit more about that in more detail on that.
Definitely. So with that, I want to break down LinkedIn into two types of traffic, first and foremost. One is inbound marketing, and the other is outbound marketing. I know it seems rather basic when you look at the two, but they operate very different from each other. So inbound marketing is the process of building your authority on LinkedIn. It goes through things like using LinkedIn's tools, and we'll show you a little bit of tidbits on that in a future slide. We'll also talk about different things you can do. When we do our deep dive, we'll talk about a formula that you can use for posting and articles and making sure you're staying relevant to your target market. And with that, my slide just quit presenting. Mike, was that you?
Yes, hang on one second. I'm trying to get my view as well. So are you back to presenting?
No, we are now looking at your screen.
Sorry, everybody. I'm trying to make sure I can see the slides as well.
All right, let's try my screen again.
Yeah. Perfect. You fixed it for me. Thank you very much. This is going to help for everybody's value.
So you can see it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. That's good. Nothing like a technical challenge to start the morning. So all good with that. Back to outbound marketing. These are things like connection requests or direct messaging, and using the features, follow-up email that you can integrate with certain services so that you can touch people on multiple fronts, as well as getting out and making those targeted new connections. So it's essential as we go through this to think about LinkedIn in one major characteristic, and that is even your inbound marketing is still cold traffic. And cold traffic has a couple of unique characteristics. And I'm going to speak of this basically on a client that I had not too long ago who had an amazing LinkedIn presence. The client was a professional. They delivered an amazing product. They were on LinkedIn 6 hours a day, maintaining connections, doing awesome stuff. But at the end of the day, when someone inquired, it was just because they'd given enough value to get them on a call. They weren't sold yet. They had just learned enough to get on a call. You still have to create curiosity. you still have to nurture them through a process. And you always have to give value in order to get information or commitments. And if you're not focusing on those three things as you build out your engagement or your posting or your articles, it's absolutely crucial. Then you're probably not using LinkedIn to the manner that's going to be effective for you. Or for that matter, you'll find it very frustrating if you try to go from, hey, I'd like to have an appointment with you, right into let's play 20 questions and hope we can cover everything about you all up front, as opposed to building a relationship. Take a little bit, just take a breath, take a moment, and build that relationship a little. Have that conversation with someone, get to know them, and you will find that LinkedIn is hands down the number one marketplace for finding especially relationship-based sales. Mike, SSI.
Awesome. I hope, and again, don't be offended if you don't know already, but the LinkedIn SSI stands for the Social Selling Index. And I hope everyone's had a chance to check out your SSI. If you have not checked out your LinkedIn SSI, I'll definitely post a link in the chat sometime during this presentation. But you can just Google search, what is my LinkedIn SSI? And as long as you are signed into your LinkedIn account on that computer, it'll take you to a score that looks like this. The Social Selling Index is a way that LinkedIn grades you for what you're doing on the platform. And as you can see here in this slide, right in the middle where that circle is in the 67 out of 100, you'll see that's my score, and that's where your score will be as well. Don't be too alarmed if you feel like you're failing or you see that I'm failing and how can I be knowledgeable about LinkedIn with a 67 out of 100, because it's definitely graded on a curve. If you look just above that, you can see in my industry, that 67 out of 100 is 1% in the top 1%. And in my network of about 7,000 people on LinkedIn, I'm in the top 9% with my SSI score. So a lot of people don't know about it, and don't be alarmed if your score is low. The SSI score consists of those 4 categories in the middle of the screen that you see as well. You need to make sure you're establishing a professional brand on LinkedIn. Is your profile completely optimized for recruiting or selling or just networking on LinkedIn? Are all the categories in your LinkedIn profile filled out with information that's useful for other people? The next one down that's a little bit of a bluer color you can see on mine is, are you finding the right people on LinkedIn? Are you reaching out to the right relevant people with your connection request and interacting with them? So LinkedIn will grade you on that. And that's part of what your whole SSI score is. The next one down is engaging with insights. Again, LinkedIn is a platform where they want you to contribute. They want you to engage with other people. They want you to post relevant content. They want you to post original content. Today's LinkedIn event is a outbound part of LinkedIn where we're putting a LinkedIn event on, and it's outbound, and we're trying to bring value on the platform to other people. So hopefully that'll help my scores go up a little bit more when we look at that one. And then you can see my last one. It's out of 25. It's build relationships. And that one, I've got that down, because, again, I'm treating LinkedIn, like Dave mentioned, more like a conversation with people now, more like, genuine relationships, and more with a go-giving attitude, always trying to add value on the platform. You're going to hear me mention it, and Dave will probably mention it a couple of times too. The connect and pitch per se, those days are gone. It just doesn't work. So you don't want to always be trying to sell with the platform. You want to go ahead and bring some value. And with that, I'm going to share my screen for a quick second and just show you a little bit about the SSI in your own profile. And when I get into that, you guys should be seeing my LinkedIn right now. And if you can see my LinkedIn account, Dave, can you guys see my account?
Yes, you are good to go.
Great. So basically, if you want to do your profile optimization, you just go in here to me, you hit view profile, and then you can easily edit and change all those categories from your banner to your headlines. Make sure your contact info is up to date, and make sure all the sections are filled out, especially the about section, which Dave is going to talk to you a little bit about more in the very near future. So I'll go ahead and push it back to you, Dave, now that I'm done screen sharing.
I'm going to take it back over. There we go. And we want to talk about the different features of SSI, and profile optimization is one of them. Mike was just touching on that. We got another slide here in a couple of minutes where we're really going to focus on targeting and hyper targeting. But for the moment, I want to talk about the 6-second rule. And this is when you are, Mike, did you just kick me out again?
I didn't touch anything that time.
Aha. There we go. All right, there we go. Now we're sharing. Someone let me know if we're back up. Let me know where we are.
I can see you. You're on using SSI to your advantage on my end.
All right. I'm in the right place then. So we want to talk specifically about the 6-second rule. And the 6-second rule is what people see and do in the first 6 seconds that they get a connection request. And one of the first things they do is, how many connections do I have in common? The second thing they do is read your headline. And then your imagery is absolutely crucial to this. So there's 4 characteristics of the 6-second rule that are absolutely crucial. And just doing these 4 things are going to increase your connection rate probably by double if you haven't done them already. Number 1, imagery. Have a decent picture. Mike's got a nice little headshot there. Professional, good background, collared shirt, looks nice. I've seen situations where people don't have a headshot at all, or they got a headshot looking like they just got out of bed. Unless you're selling the morning after cures or hangover cures, I probably wouldn't want someone that looked like I got out of bed. I want to make sure that when people see me, they see me in that best light. There is no second first impression. Second place, the imagery in the banner. 1, don't block important messaging with your headshot. And 2, you've got free advertising space to 70 million people on LinkedIn in that. Put something useful there. Make an image that drives them to understand what you offer. Mike's got a great little shot there with software images for entrepreneurs. He's got a good byline associated with it, and he's got, important connection information. Third, information. Assisting recruiters, salespeople, entrepreneurs, generating qualified prospects. Ask me how. This is a headline. This is not your job. You can put your job in there and it's okay, but you have a space right there to completely set yourself apart from everybody on LinkedIn. 80% of the people on LinkedIn put their job title there. I ask, when I'm setting up a client, I ask that client, how does your perfect client feel after a successful transaction? What is the emotion that you create with your client to make them happy or to give them value after a transaction? That's what goes in your headline. Reducing time and stress. Absolutely important with that. Creating generational wealth, a feeling of self-confidence. Adding these things to the effect of what you do creates an emotional impact that increases your connection rate and increases your engagement rate by double digits every single time. And finally, the next section that people see, especially on a desktop, is the first 3 lines of the about section. And this is a place where you have 1,500 words or so to really promote yourself and show what you are all about. But what I do in our formula when we help someone write an about section is we spend that first 3 lines with what I call a targeting statement to any single focus business, real estate, legal, financial services, or consultants. When I did my introduction a minute ago, that's who I've served most successfully over the last several years. Anyone who relies on relationships to prosper. This is my targeting statement. This is what's necessary in order to get past the 6-second rule and increase your connection rate as much as humanly possible. Mike, back over to you for some event information.
Excellent. Thanks, Dave. So LinkedIn events. Today is a LinkedIn event that everybody's at here, and it's a 60-minute event where we're trying to provide a lot of value to everybody that attends it. it's also an event where we can connect with a lot of people that, we can help service both today and in the future. Anybody that has a LinkedIn business page, which is free to create on LinkedIn, can have an event that they host. So if you guys look at this slide here, my old blog was Michael Globbett's blog. I didn't know what else to call it. Now it's Find My Prospects, but it's a great example of a small LinkedIn event that I created with my blog. I started inviting people to this 30 to 60 minute LinkedIn webinar like we're doing today of how they can recruit and sell on LinkedIn to attract the ideal prospects. I had 612 attendees that RSVP'd for that LinkedIn event. And that's where the power of LinkedIn really comes in. Once you start inviting people to a LinkedIn event and they start RSVPing yes, LinkedIn's algorithm kicks in and it shows your event to other people with similar profiles on LinkedIn. So even today, at the 500, 600 people that RSVP'd to this event or those 600 that RSVP'd to my event, only about a third, 200, 250 of them were my first degree connections that attended the event. The remaining 350, 400 people were all second, third, or farther degree connections from me. So what that is, it's a great way for you to bring in new people to connect with on LinkedIn. Now, again, you don't necessarily have to sell to them in the event, and I don't recommend that you do sell to them in the event. Nobody usually wants to come see a sales pitch for 60 minutes unless they ask for one. But the event is something you need to make that's going to create value for your audience that you connect with and all your new connections. So for my recruitment teams or my recruiters and sourcers out there, start thinking about the people you're trying to fill job roles with and what type of event can you give them value for. The first one that always comes to my mind is resume skills or resume reviews. What do you need to change in your resume for 2022? Let's spend 30 minutes. Maybe we'll bring in a resume writing company expert. We'll give you a free event. I'll connect with people on LinkedIn who will now become my connections on LinkedIn by connection request, or they'll reach out to me. And then boom, I've given them value. I've built my network. And then now we've made that connection. And it's not the old connect and pitch. It was an event given value. Same thing for my salespeople. You might sell widgets or you might sell a service or something like that, but that's not really what your LinkedIn event needs to be about. Provide a LinkedIn event where you give value to your prospects and make sure that event is somewhere that you can meet new connections, build true relationships with those people, and then those can become your new connections to both grow your network and grow your pipeline for future things. Does anybody have any questions about LinkedIn events? But I will tell you, this is one that we're going to deep dive into in a future webinar. And I will give you one other hint. If I don't see any questions come up, then that's fine. But you can also search LinkedIn for other people's events, and you can find people to connect with there with the same game plan. Any questions? How far out do you typically have an event out? It's a great question, Marissa. Thank you. I usually try to at least allow 30 days minimum. That way you can give LinkedIn some time for you to invite people to your event and then for that algorithm to kick in and start showing your event to other people. If you're in a crunch and you absolutely have no choice, then you could do it sooner than 30 days. And I probably would not do it longer than 60 because people's schedules change within that. But again, the value of the event is getting people to RSVP because then you can send out a recording like we will in this particular one. And you can give them value both online, live during an event, and offline. It's a great question, though.
Absolutely. I discovered on a live event earlier this year that 45 days was too long of a lead time. We had a massive drop off from people who signed up early and then didn't come back across the board.
I see one more question just came through. What methods work best for an event promotion? I think LinkedIn works the best for the event promotion. You don't need to pay for any ads. You can event inviter, which is something that we have softwares that help with, or you just do it manually in LinkedIn. You invite people that you're connected to the event, and then also connect with new people that you think the event would provide value to and give them the event invite as well.
I'm going to give a little insight into that and maybe give away some of the secret sauce behind what we do, Mike. And that is, one of the really neat tools that's become available on LinkedIn in the last couple of years is the ability to find other events and find the people that are attending events like yours and to create a list of them to go after. It's a very powerful tool to make sure you are you are expanding your network into a very specifically targeted audience, which takes me right to my next slide, and that is targeting or hyper targeting, getting to the right decision makers. And this is its own little unique art form in the land of LinkedIn. So I'm going to talk about the free version of LinkedIn today. And when we get into our deep dive webinar, I will talk a lot more about Sales Navigator. The additional features within Sales Navigator for targeting and hyper targeting make it exceptionally effective at narrowing your audience into something that's easy to get to. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to reach out to whether it's 400 or 2,400, depending on the systems that you're using, people per month. And those people have to be very focused on what's necessary to be successful on LinkedIn. So what most people normally do is they'll come in here and they'll type something like CEO. And CEO by itself is pretty general on that. And you can see here, I got about 8.5 million connections, all that identify as CEO. And while I may be stating the obvious, narrowing it down past CEO is absolutely crucial. So one way to narrow it down is the Boolean search. So when I was raising capital, we would do CEO and invest. And that brings up about 19,000. And that's all well and good, but some people that have invest here don't necessarily invest in the real estate offerings we had at the time. So CEO, invest, and real estate creates 2,700 results in my network. And then I throw a second degree filter on that, target for the United States, and make sure I'm staying focused on people that I can communicate with in the first language that sometimes even then I speak poorly. And I've narrowed down a very focused group that I can go after in just a few days, and making sure that I've put that into place. Now, what happens is when you connect with people with a hyper-targeted search like that, when I say hyper-targeting, I mean at least 3 layers: CEO plus invest plus real estate, CEO plus manufacturing plus location. These are things that you can do to create layers in your filters to make it absolutely accurate for what you're going after. LinkedIn is absolutely fanatic about going after too many people too fast. And if you're not focused with that, you're going to be spending a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and potentially a lot of money on LinkedIn, only to figure out that, hey, wait, LinkedIn's not working for me. I'm not getting to the right people. That's a major consideration. So at the end of the day, hyper-targeting is the aspect of creating multiple layers in your search so that you can pin down an audience and get to the right decision makers. Once you've narrowed down that audience, once you've created a successful campaign test, then you can duplicate that across multiple spectrums. If CEO plus invest plus real estate works, maybe CFO plus real estate plus invest works. Maybe NEC level works, and you've just expanded your audience. Maybe you find out in the middle of that you're working with targeted regions of business. One of my current clients works exclusively out of the Bay Area, so it's necessary to go that route. Generally, I don't recommend LinkedIn for localized work. I recommend it for national targeting. But at the end of the day, with an appropriately filtered search, especially within Sales Navigator, you can narrow down a very accurate audience for your engagement. Mike?
Yeah, good, useful information, Dave. And just to recap for everybody, we're starting to cover things in a specific order that is probably what you want to do on LinkedIn as well. You want to make sure your LinkedIn profile is optimized for what you're doing. You want to make sure you're targeting the right people on LinkedIn. And then now we're going to go into messaging do's and don'ts. And there's a lot of different opinions on messaging do's and don'ts on LinkedIn. I'm going to give you ours that I think we've learned, and we think it's going to be of value to you, I hope. Common theme, like I mentioned before, be a go-giver on LinkedIn. And I'm stealing that from Bob Burg's and John David Mann's book, The Go-Giver. If you are always trying to give value with your messaging and your connections on LinkedIn, you're not going to be unsuccessful. If you provide value to other people and grow your network with genuine connections with your messaging, you are going to grow your network. You don't want to just connect and pitch. Don't use LinkedIn for that sales call every time you reach out to some new person, and don't always pitch your products every time you're reaching out to new people. You do want to make sure your messaging is very organized and you're not repeating yourself and you're not reaching out to the wrong people with the wrong message though. So make sure you take some time to organize your LinkedIn outreach plans. What people are you reaching out to, for what purpose, and connecting with them and providing value with them. Another thing you really might want to consider with LinkedIn outreach do's is go ahead and track your statistics. If you're sending connection requests and it's not working, you need to know that. So if your messaging that you're sending to people is not working, you need to know that as well. So you really want to organize and track your outreach with LinkedIn. And with that, I'm going to start sharing my screen again, Dave, real quick. And when I do that, I'm going to just show some things of how we track and how we do things. That way others can see what I'm talking about. So just confirm with me in about 5 seconds that I'm sharing again, and we'll be good to go.
You are sharing Prospect Ladder.
Excellent. So just a real quick thing about some of the things we've talked about. I'm tracking my SSI score at all times, almost on a daily basis that we talked about. So I'm doing that. With my LinkedIn outreach, I'm tracking with stats every day. How many people have I followed up with? How many people am I sending messages to? How many people am I connecting with? Things like that. This way I know if I'm putting the time and effort in to the right people at the right time with the right message. You can also go into your stats and do all these manually yourself with a spreadsheet, but you want to track these things and you want to keep track of connection stats. And I'm just going to jump in here real quick and show you this one too that I mentioned earlier. You want to see what's working with your connection request. I know a lot of the recruiters we work with, they usually start with us and they're happy with a 20% connection rate. And what we aim to do is try to help them out with, better messaging, better targeting, and a better profile so those numbers go up. Because the higher percentage of people you connect with on LinkedIn, then the higher connections you're going to make and the more people you can provide value to. So you can see in this campaign here, I have a 66% connection rate, which I think is great. Again, my connection message is more about, why are we connecting and value, not a pitch. I'm just, looking for people on LinkedIn and I'm looking for ways to provide value, just like this event's doing or your event can do as well. Not selling at all. Somebody put a question a few minutes ago about the event inviter. You can do that inside of LinkedIn. And then, of course, we track it in our software as well, where we have an event inviter right here. And then we can see how many people we invite to an event. But that's a feature that can manually be done on LinkedIn, and you can use that event inviter. So I'm going to jump back into the slides again and stop sharing here. Did that kill the slide?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll start talking about some more of the don'ts. Again, you don't want to connect and pitch with people. A lot of people, when you send that connection message, if you're already pitching them, they're not going to connect with you. So you've wasted that valuable connection you could build your network with. Because don't forget, if I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for SharePoint developers and I'm always pitching them on my first connection message of what type of positions I have, if I don't connect with them, then I've lost that value of all their second degree connections that they have, or their first degrees that'll become my second degrees. That could be the other people I want to connect with. So again, connect with people for the right reason, and then make sure your messaging isn't always about the pitch, and make sure it's about value, and value you can provide in a real relationship with them. Does anybody have any questions about messaging do's and don'ts? But again, to summarize, it's pretty simple. You do want to give value, and you don't want to pitch and treat it like a sales platform, because the days of connecting and pitches are over, and you need to be providing value to your people that you're connecting with.
Mike, Christine's got a question. She's got a problem. She uses LinkedIn for my privacy career and also for my Substack. Uh, I'm not entirely clear on that question.
I'm reading it and I'm not entirely clear either, but Christine, I'll be sure to reach out to you afterwards, and I probably can find your registration link and we'll get some more detail on that. But maybe for a private career and also for a Substack. I don't know what that part of Substack is, but we'll follow up afterwards, and I'll have my email address at the end that you can contact me also.
So with that, we want to talk a little bit about one of the latest tips and tricks that we are using to actually create a 94% view rate on the messages. Now, for example, if you send a normal message on LinkedIn, your view rate is typically between 50% and sometimes as high as 60. But image marketing is the next feature. It's the next level of connecting on LinkedIn. And there's a bunch of different ways to do it. And now it's scalable, personalizable, and customizable, so that each message goes out with the target prospect's name on it, perhaps their company logo. You can use QR codes to get more information. You can load their messaging on. One of the great ways that we are using this is simply by having somebody, probably with a whiteboard most of the time, wave and smile or hold up a cup of coffee and be the engaging person that they are with their business, because that is the foundation of a relationship. And when it comes to neurolinguistics, it's absolutely crucial that you create a pattern interrupt for somebody. Nothing does a pattern interrupt like seeing their name pop up where they're expecting something different, and seeing you pop up with a smile, having a good day. It's just like smiling at someone down the street. They're probably going to smile back at you. That is an absolutely, it's a tool that we started using, Mike, about 4 months ago?
Yeah, definitely. And it's a game changer.
And every campaign that we've run with it has doubled the number of people going to their landing pages. So it's an absolutely essential tool if you plan on being on LinkedIn and if you plan on being different on LinkedIn. And that's something that I just can't stress enough. If you are the same pitch, the same connection request, and the same technique as everyone else on LinkedIn, well, I'm here to tell you, you got 100 million people that are doing the same thing you are doing. It's pretty hard to stand out in that sea of ineffectiveness. So keep that in mind. This is a tool that we are offering. This is a tool that you can get working with us, whether you're, and it works for the do-it-yourself crowd as well. Very important to know the latest and greatest. So one other really fun thing about LinkedIn is inbound business. A lot of people are very shy when it comes to outbound marketing or feeling salesy or anything like that. But when it comes to LinkedIn, there are two really key things you can do to create inbound business. I'm going to show you how to get to them on the screen here. We're back here in my, I'm going to go back to the home just so that everyone knows where they start on LinkedIn. And then you go to work, and over here it's called the Services Marketplace. And this Services Marketplace, scroll down a little, you can read through on how it works. I'm not going to go into the deep dive portion today, but are you a provider? Now, understand, I filled this out in early 2019, and I am still getting 2 or 3 leads a week, even though I don't even use this anymore. And these leads are all focused in categories where I launched my business. I've got clients that do this, and they get 20, 30 inbound messages a day for their services. Absolutely crucial that if you're going to be on LinkedIn, people be able to find you. This is a free tool This is free marketing for your business in an absolutely targeted system. If you're not taking advantage of this, you're really missing a key tool that LinkedIn can drive revenue with. The other tool is available by looking at your profile. And by looking at your profile and scrolling down into the resources section, there's what's called the creator mode. And in this creator mode, LinkedIn will give you specific analytics on your content. It'll give you specific analytics on your engagement, and it will further syndicate your posts out to a wider range of audience. If you're going to do inbound marketing on LinkedIn, it starts with creating authority, and it starts with creating an avenue for people to reach out to you. These two tools make that absolutely and somewhat ridiculously easy. Mike?
Yep. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. I was just checking out some of the questions and going through those questions, make sure we answered everything. So at the conclusion of today, we do want to put this link in here, and I am going to drop some other links in the chat as well for some that had some questions. But, we do have time to schedule any type of demo with you today, whether it's about one of the softwares we showcased or anything with strategies and tips and tactics on LinkedIn. I'm happy to have a conversation and see if we can help out offline or online after offline, any way we can. I did see it was Mary that I was just looking at that asked a little bit about that LinkedIn invite. So I wanted to show everybody my LinkedIn screen real quick again, just so how she can access that in hers. So I'm just going to jump back into
Mike, while you're calling that up, I want to bring everybody's attention to the fact that you probably can't click the link on the page that I'm showing you. But if you click the offers button in your dashboard, there'll be a book now button, and you can use that to get your free demo, learn more about image marketing, learn more about inbound marketing, or find out what it's going to take for you to take it to the next level on LinkedIn. Mike, back to you.
Awesome. Good deal. And you can see my LinkedIn screen now?
Yep.
Great. So Mary, again, and I'm sure some others have some questions. If you create an event on LinkedIn, starting at the home screen, like Dave said every time, you just scroll down on the left, you find your events. There's the one that I'm doing today, how to become. So once you create your LinkedIn event, you just go into the event, and then invite is simple enough right there. And that's where you can put people's names and invite them. You can select people's names that might be in there, and you can send invites to them to your event. I know someone also asked that what if you don't have a lot of connections already on LinkedIn and you want to invite people to an event? That is going to be a little tougher, but again, start thinking outside the box. Who can you partner with your LinkedIn event that maybe does have more connections, and you can do a joint event. I mentioned it earlier for some of the recruitment teams I work with. A lot of times we'll show them how they can partner with a resume company or a resume building company. And so between the two CEOs or multiple people that work for the organizations, all those people can invite people to events. So if one person does not have a lot of connections, don't let that discourage you by any means. Just go right ahead and get back in there. I'm going to jump back into that last slide. Again, it looks like it's about 1:45 my time. I'm going to, once I get done talking a second, I will drop a few other links in here that are clickable, and I know Dave had those as well. But again, I wanted to thank everybody for your time today. I'm truly humbled and honored that people showed up, and people are going to be watching this on the recording. I hope we provided some value for you with those 5 topics. The LinkedIn profile optimization. Don't forget, make sure it's optimized for cell phone views. Everybody's always on cell phones these days. So look at that. Your targeting, the more time you spend targeting the right people on LinkedIn, the more successful you're going to be, because if you're targeting the wrong people, it's all going to blow up from there and not create what you're looking for. Make sure you follow some of those messaging rules and you have value in your messaging, and make sure you start doing other things active on LinkedIn. No matter how much you don't like it, if you're not a good speaker like myself, events are tough. But you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to find ways to provide value for other people. Start posting more. Don't be worried about what people might say in your post, but, be active on the platform, because those are the things that are going to raise that SSI score. They're going to make other people notice you, and you're going to build true connections that are going to become valuable both to you and that you can give value to. Dave, do you have anything to close it up on your end while I drop those links in?
No, we got a couple additional questions. I want to reemphasize that this is an overview of 5 webinars that are upcoming where we're going to take a really deep dive on each of these topics. It is impossible to cover everything that there is on LinkedIn in half an hour or 45 minutes plus a few questions. This is information that, I've personally learned, studied, written a few checks to the University of Life along the way, figuring out what works and what doesn't over the last 7 years, and several hundred LinkedIn marketing campaigns. So it's absolutely crucial that if you're interested in using LinkedIn, not only do we want you to understand, what we can bring to you in the way of systems and process, but what we can bring to you in the way of education and tools and shortening that learning curve and staying up to date on the most opportune and quote unquote ninja tricks that are possible for you to be effective. And at the end of the day, whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or a done-for-you or something in between, we want you to be effective. We want to raise the bar of everybody operating on LinkedIn to the highest possible level.
Thanks, Dave. And I do see a couple other questions that I may have missed. So yes, a recording will be sent out, and hopefully you can rewatch this for those that are here live. We appreciate you coming. Somebody else talked about market events from your personal or your business account. I'm sorry, Arif, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. To use the LinkedIn event inviter function, both on LinkedIn or with the software, it has to be from a business page. But again, your business could be, michaelglobitz.com, and that's a page, and then that's how you do it. I do want to warn you, make sure you use personal images, though, because you're inviting people as a person to your personal event, not, company logos. Any other questions?
Don't see any. Did you address the 15,000 connection? My biz has less than 10. Arif, I'm not entirely sure there's a question there. 15,000 is a really nice level of connections. A lot of times we're building accounts off of 1,000 or 2 and growing from there. I know that when we built the investment firm a few years ago, that we started with about 5,000 connections, and it took us a little over 3 years to get to 15,000. And in just a matter of a year and a half after that, we jumped to 25,000. So it was a massive increase, and it's really a snowball effect when you get there. I would encourage you with that many connections to start getting selective and be highly targeted and highly focused on making sure that you clean out your LinkedIn connections about once a quarter. Jim, I want to acknowledge one other thing, and that's Mike and I met on this initially as competitors. There's a couple of people in the room that facilitated us actually, working on different accounts, and we discovered we had a really complementary skill set. So I just want to, point out that, you never know where that relationship's going to come from. And that relationship can come from LinkedIn. It can come from meeting other people. It can come from working in competition. It can come from working in cooperation. So be open to those relationships. And because of that, we're here today bringing more value than I did originally, bringing more value than Mike did originally, and giving you guys some amazing tools. Mike, I'm done.
I am as well. I think we hit all the questions here. And again, if you do have a question after today, please don't hesitate. Reach out to us on LinkedIn and Messenger. If you send a connection request, I recommend send a note with it that you maybe were an attendee or you watched the recording of the webinar, because like a lot of people, sometimes if that profile is not optimized and there's no connection message, I might not connect with you just because we're all getting spam. So send a request on LinkedIn. Go ahead, and my email's on there, mike@prospectladder.com. There's some other links on there for the websites if you want to reach us through the chat box there. We're pretty accessible, and we're looking to provide value anytime, anywhere, and any place. Thank you very much, everybody, and we appreciate you taking the time either today to attend in person or to watch us throughout your busy day. Thank you.